Yeah, Colonel May.
At ease. It's a distinct pleasure today to introduce my friend and a great American, Gary Stidham, and a fellow Kiwanian, by the way, as our speaker. Commissioner Gary Stidham, Chief Petty Officer, U.S. Navy, retired. He's on his second term as a county commissioner. He serves on the Budget Committee, the Jail and Insurance Committees. He was elected to serve as the chairman of the State Veterans Committee for the Tennessee County Commissioners Association. He serves on the Tennessee County Commissioners Association Education Executive Committee and Local Government Committee. He is retired as Chief Petty Officer. I had several different tours, both stateside and overseas. He has met several drunken sailors. Just kidding, Gary. He has a master's degree in education. He holds a Tennessee teaching license. He has been the Naval Junior ROTC instructor for the past 19 years at Cherokee High School in Rogersville, which explains why he can't always come up here during the school year. His unit has been recognized as a distinguished unit with academic honors for the past 16 years, making his junior ROTC unit one of the Navy's most decorated in the nation of that type unit. Wife Molly is a principal of a private school here in Kingsport. They have two sons, Gary and Zach, and one granddaughter, Eliza. Gary's also active in the community, serving as an usher in his church. He serves on Second Harvest Food Bank Advisory Board, the Bluntville Military Park Board, and commander of the American Legion Post 3 here in Kingsport and other veterans organizations. Of course, they live in Kingsport, Molly and Gary, and they have two sons, Gary and Zach. I mentioned his granddaughter, Eliza. He's the man. Come on up here, Gary.
Thanks, man. Well, it's an honor to be here today to speak. I went home and I told Molly, I said, they've asked me to speak at Kiwanis. I said, that's great. 24 commissioners, they picked the best looking commissioner to come and speak. So the other 23 didn't make the list. So I told her, I said, the only thing they want me to talk about county government. And county government, speaking about county government, is just one lecture above watching paint dry. So apparently that guy was unavailable today. But I told her, I said, this is kind of a dry subject. I said, I do need a good joke. I said, I'll probably start off with two sailors walking in the bar. She starts shaking her head. She says, nope. If you tell that joke, the only person who'll get it is Admiral McKinley. So, and I said, well, what about the one where the politician dies and goes to meet St. Peter? And she says, you definitely can't tell that one. So I'm going to give you the all-time political joke. I am from the government. I am here to help you. So. But Sullivan County, we're doing a lot of great things. We've been busy. COVID threw a few wrenches into a few projects, and we'll try to make this as interesting as it can. Try to stay on time here. Here's our Sullivan County Courthouse. If you look, the window right here to the left, that's Richard's office for now. And if you look, he might have been looking out the window that day, peeping out as trying to figure out what we were taking pictures of. But it's an honor to get to serve. The commission meets on the second floor of that on the second and third Thursdays of every month. And with budget coming up, starting next week, we'll be there like 3 nights a week until about April. So now you did invite an educator to come, so you get homework. Can't expect to bring an educator in and not have homework. I need you to remember that number, 2.55. At the end of this, you're doing it. So that brings me to questions. I'm done. Not really. There's one big question as a county commissioner. I get this question all the time, but don't want it now. But I do have something for someone when we get to the questions part. I'm going to bring this up again. If you can tell me the most asked question we get as a county commissioner, I've got a prize for you up here. So, Sullivan County, a few things about Sullivan County you may or may not know. 430 square miles we cover. This is a huge county. If you go all the way to the east side and drive to the west, you can't do it in an hour, mainly because the roads are so crooked. And you actually, if you go to the furthest point, you literally have to go through Virginia to get to Tennessee, to back to Tennessee. So, a little trivia. We currently have 852 miles of paved road that the county is responsible for, not state routes, not the city part, but what we do. If you lay that out, a 2-lane road from Blountville, you'll go all the way to Miami, Florida. That is a lot of road to take care of and a lot of scraping and paving to maintain. Along with that, we spend about $2.1 million on paving a year in Sullivan County. The great thing about working with the cities of Bristol and Kingsport, we have agreements. If they're paving a part of a road, and there are a lot of roads that come in that start out in the county, then you get to the city portion, then you're back to county. Whichever one of us is doing it, the county or the city, the other one pays the other one to do their portion of it, so you don't have breaks in it. And that is, when we talked to the highway commissioner, he said that the reason why they like to do that is if you have a break in that pavement, when you come back and scrape in the winter, it's just going to create holes. So that cities and counties working together is a great thing. The population distribution, the city to rural in this county is very unique. Very few counties have what we have. Now, Washington County is close. It's not an exact 50-50 break, with Kingsport with 58,000, Bristol between 22 and 24,000 people, Piney Flats 2,000, and a few in Johnson City. We're literally almost at a 50-50 break, city to rural. Now, there's some advantages to that. If you go up to Hancock County and look at Hancock County's budget, they have no cities. And what do cities do? They are the economic drivers, and for us, that's a great thing. We still have our rural area, we have our cities, but they are the economic engines that make a county like this go, creating jobs and growth. And a little bit of trivia, Blountville is the only unincorporated county seat in the state of Tennessee. They turned in their charter somewhere back in the 20s, late 20s, early 30s, over alcohol being sold in the city limits, so they dissolved the city of Blountville. Little trivia for you. I came in the office, I've been in office now 5 years. I'm going to brag a little bit on the last commission. The last commission came in, myself, I ran on, we're not going to kick the can down the road anymore. We've got issues, we've got problems. Just living budget year to budget year has to stop. We have to stop and fix a lot of these problems, and we need to take care of it. The first thing that we did when we came in the office, and it was very controversial at first, but it was probably one of the best things we did, and that's put a school resource officer on every single campus in Sullivan County. Trust me, that was not inexpensive. That was $700,000 to do that. That was a 2-cent tax increase that year to do that. I got 0 complaints about that 2 cents that year of raising the taxes, because that is the most important thing that we have is our kids, and we need them to be safe. And we're doing everything we can to make that better. Even the state, federal government, we're getting grants that come down, new locks for doors, no doors in most schools here in the future. We'll have no key access to be able to come in. It'll be all badge only, no keys to come in and out to get lost. But those things are coming. I did bring some props with me today. Another big adventure we had. We were, out of the 95 counties, 93 had veteran service offices. We were the largest county not to have a full-time veteran service office. And believe it or not, it had been 10 or 15 years they've been trying to get one. Couldn't get anyone on the same page at all with this. One day I was driving home from work and I'm like, well, you know what? If you get all the feuding people together, set them down at a table, make an ad hoc committee out of it, let the veterans tell us on the commission what they want, we can move forward with this. And it worked. They sat down, all the ones that that came up that argued we need to do this and do that, never could get a resolution passed for it. So we actually set them down. They gave us the plan. We took it to the commission, 24 votes, it moved forward, and now we have a full-time veteran service office in Sullivan County and have for 4 years now. And I actually brought a prop with me. I have our new veteran service officer, Hunter, if you'll stand up. It's Hunter Woodall, Sergeant Woodall, U.S. Army. I told him I invited him over here today, and then I used him as a prop. So, but that veteran service office really makes a difference in the county. We had, in 2018, we had 16,000 veterans in Sullivan County. Right now we're at around 12,500. That is about $6 million a year that office brings in benefits. Every time they sit down with a service member and that individual gets that money, they get a disability claim, a lot of widows claims that come in. Trust me, those people aren't putting that in a 401k. They are spending that every month when it comes in to help pay the rent, pay for food, whatever it may be. That money's going back into our economy. So it may be one of the best investments we make for $143,000 a year that brings in $6-7 million in a 2-year period. The clerk's office of Kingsport, that was another one. We can't take credit for this. Teresa Jacobs, her first term, she came in, she said, we need to do something with the Kingsport office. The city was moving to their new location for all the city offices. And so we went out, she found a building, the Horizon building, a credit union building over there off Clay Street. We looked at it. She had enough money in there to be able to purchase it in her capital fund, so it really wasn't a true cost. It's taxpayers' money, but it had been saved up over time. So we went in and do that. Now we have a drive-through. If you ever went and got your tags in the old office, you probably remember standing in the hallway. It was forever getting in and out. No drive-through. Bumpville had a drive-through. They were doing 3 times the amount of business that Kingsport was doing because it was just inconvenient. That new location, they did 68,000 tag renewals, were transactions, as they call it, the year before it opened. Now that it's been open for a complete year, they're doing 71,000, and most of that is through the drive-through. So that was one of the things that we approved that made a difference in our community here and a little more convenient. The Bluntville Military Park, this has been going on for over 14 years, trying to get a memorial built at the Veterans Park out in Bluntville. I'm happy to announce that we will have a park. It won't be as nice as the Kingsport Park, but it will be a tribute. The county had nothing in the county seat for veterans. We had an individual who came in and said, we'll donate, we'll match you dollar for dollar. We got $65,000 from the commission. They matched that amount of money, and then COVID hit. So it has put us back a little bit. We kind of got into a little tight spot of being able to get the money, and the commission has come back and approved $30,000 more to allow the park to be built. So hopefully sometime this summer we'll be doing a ribbon cutting for a park out there, which will help the downtown area. The 5-year plan for the city and the volunteer fire departments, this was a long-term issue that took a lot of work. And I know you're sitting out there and you're going, why in the world do we care about volunteer fire departments? We have a paid city department. That costs us, what, $10-11 million a year just on that program in the city. We give $2 million a year to the volunteer fire departments in Sullivan County. We went through, we wanted another medical person on the truck in Bristol, in Kingsport, and in Bluntville. So we came up with a 5-year plan. It failed twice. We could not get it passed. We finally sat down, Jerry Fleener, who's over the Volunteer Fire Department Association, Andrew Cross, and myself. We sat down and talked. We worked it out and got one done. Jerry actually is a salesman and a half. He talked to every single chief and got them to come down and says, this is the amount we can do. We came to a total agreement of $138,000 per volunteer fire department And if you don't think he's a salesman, he actually got Kingsport to cut $66,000 off their fire department budget that they received from us. But when you look at it, Kingsport also got a medical person on the truck for $184,000 that got added. That took 5 years to get this passed. So that is something doing it. Now, the real benefit to us is we keep these volunteer fire departments alive, trained, and as long as we can use them, use them. Talking to Rutherford County, Williamson County, because everyone kept saying, well, maybe we just need to get rid of the volunteer fire departments and go paid across Sullivan County. What was our square mileage? 430 square miles. Rutherford County spends $90 million a year on fire protection. Williamson County just went all paid, and I think I'm waiting on the number back from them, but they gave me a number that was close to $92 million for them because it's a little more spread out. That is a reason we need to keep supporting these volunteer fire departments in our area. Think of what that'll do to our tax rate in Sullivan County if we ever lose those guys. And they're giving up their time. We give them enough money to operate, and that is about it. They give up their time, they give up time for training, and then they're out there at 2 o'clock in the morning fighting a house fire. And then they get up and go to work the next day. So we need to keep those guys and gals around as long as we can, because the cost of being able to do it and provide those services are unreal. Another big thing we were able to do in the last term is the EMS stations. This is another one of those safety issues that we were able to come do. And it took cooperation from the City of Bristol, City of Kingsport, Sullivan County, and Gary Mays is outstanding running EMS. The Wilcox Drive station costs $1.4 million. The City of Kingsport donated, Wilcox Drive, they had enough money in their budget to pay for that one, $1.4 million. The good thing about the Wilcox Drive one, that is close to V.O. Dobbins. I have an office in V.O. Dobbins, so it really made me feel great. Because I went to the doctor the other day, and he did of course my doctor's like, all right, we're going to do the blood test, and then we do your physical, and I'm going to sit down and go over all that. So I sat down with him, I said, Doc, how'd my blood test come out? And he said, Gary, you're as fit as a 35-year-old. I'm like, that's good. I'm 50-some years old. That's great. And he said, hold on. He cut me off. He didn't let me finish. Yeah, I said, you're fit as a 35-year-old that's overweight, got high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So I said, Doc, I'm sticking with the 35-year-old part. I don't care what you say. The Gibson Mill project, which a lot of people see when you're going down Stone Drive, $1.8 million. The City of Kingsport donated that property, which is valued at $360,000. You start dealing with our budget, it's big numbers. But that was one of the things. We would not have been able to build that on Gibson Mill if it hadn't been for the city donating that property to us. The good thing about that covers the whole west side of Kingsport, all the way over to Hawkins County line, Lynn Garden, backside of Bloomingdale. These stations are going to save lives. The time those guys can get out of that station and get to whoever needs help is really reduced. Same thing with the Bluntville station. The City of Bristol donated property was valued at $289,000. So this joint effort, we would not have been able to put that one in Bluff City over there before to bought the property and build what we need to build. And the Wilcox Court one is our transport. They're the ones that go out and pick up hospitals and stuff while the other ones are out on that. That property was a property, the building already existed. We just went in there and redid it, and I do not have what we spent on the reconstruction of that building. And the EMS station in Colonial Heights has been approved to be built. We allocated $2.6 million for that project. The reason it's a little more is COVID, everything's gone up. The second part, we have to purchase property. There's no one out there who's going to donate the property. That would have already been started. The property we had, it didn't work out. We do have property now. that we're going to be purchasing. So in the future, you'll hear John over there will be putting out a press release that we'll be building a new EMS station in Colonial Heights. This is a lot of money to spend, but it took City of Kingsport and Bristol to help us out. But this is the welfare of our community. It matters being able to respond to people and take care of our EMS people. We were losing good EMS and paramedics to other areas. They had horrible conditions. You think about this, they go to a car accident at 1:30 in the morning. They're out there, they come back, they're wet, they're tired, their adrenaline's been pumping, they're exhausted, they could use a shower, had no facilities, they sat in the truck or in a little room. That was it. Now when there are these new EMS stations, there's bunk rooms, there's a shower, they have a kitchenette, and they have a lounge. So when they come out in state-of-the-art facility, and this is going to be able to help us retain our good EMS people, keep them from getting burned out, and just have them fresh and ready to go for the next call. So these are things that's going to continue on in our county. We keep growing. We need the growth, but you have to provide the services. All right, county jail. There is nothing sexy talking about going to jail. Building one, I can tell you that, trust me, it will not be on my next flyer that goes out from re-election. It says, I built a jail. No politician ever put that on a flyer and mailed it out. It's just not going to happen. But our total cost of the jail when it came in, we allocated $83 million bond for that. J Street came in at $88,000. We ended up about $13 million total, kind of coming up short. COVID did help us out with that. We were able to use our American Rescue Plan Act money to able to cut off $10 million of that and only had to absorb $3 million. But the jail, as everyone knows, it saw everything that's come out about that over the years. We didn't go into this project lightly. In fact, there were 8 of us who went to jail for 2 days down in Atlanta, Georgia. We went to Gwinnett County and Douglas County jails and toured those jails and facilities and got briefs on the builders, talked to the people who were running those jails. We looked at, they were similar to the same type jail that they were trying to convince us we needed to build. And in the long run, those 2 days gave us a huge amount of information that we came back and they were meeting after meeting, planning on what we did. It wasn't a spare of the moment, we went and did this. But the jail that we're going to have in the long run is going to be fewer people to run it, fewer people to maintain it. So in the long run, we're going to be better off. Trust me, if you went out to our jail and toured it, I don't know how many's ever went out there and toured this situation, but if you want to go tour what we have now, we'll set it up for you. We had 619 beds, and we have 900 inmates in there at times. Summertime, 1,200 inmates in that jail. Now, I'm not soft on crime, but not everybody in there is guilty. Not everybody in there, people need to be treated humanely. That was horrible conditions to be in. We were basically at the same point we were in the 80s when the federal judge came in and made us build what we have now. The difference is now we actually took the time to sit down, design something, get something designed that's going to work for many years and we can expand on it. But the expansion is going to be 560 beds, the current 619 beds. The cells are prefabricated steel. We did learn a few lessons from West Ridge being built. Tennessee is a very cavernous area. We actually had to put pillars all the way down to bedrock to build the jail, to even do the foundation for the jail. We looked at an independent jail with a full judge, bringing all the judges and all the courts out there. That didn't go over well in Kingsport. We're the only there's only 2 counties that have multiple court sites in the state of Tennessee, and we're one of them. We have 3 different sites for jails, for courts. And trust me, it did not go over well with taking the court system out of Kingsport. We mentioned it, my email lit up and the phone lit up. 2 days later, it was okay, we're off of that and move on. So, But the cells are prefabricated steel, and our cells are actually already completed and waiting to go in. So now it's just finishing the building up, and they slide them in and start doing the plumbing and the wiring. It's estimated to be completed in September of 2024. This is what the new jail is going to look like when you come in here. This will be actually closed off. They'll be where they're dropped off. They go in processing. Fewer guards. This is a pathway in between the jail cells. We are not building out all of that. Part of that is going to stay a shell for later on that we can build it out. I talked to the mayor and other people. I would like to build the rest of that out and basically lease it out to Tennessee Department of Corrections. We could lease that out to them, let them run their own jail inside our jail, and make enough money to actually pay the cost, our debt cost on this jail. It's just a matter of getting the money to finish that out and getting the Department of Corrections to buy off on that. We did have the marshal here that spoke here a few months back, and I mentioned that to him, and he said they pay $109 a day to maintain them. I said, we need to build out the rest of that jail and let it become a federal facility. We'll take care of the laundry for them. They can pay us. They can pay us rent, just pay for this thing and move on. So, hey, you got to think out of the box sometimes. $91 million, we'll let somebody else pay the tab. The budget. We're currently starting our budget process next week. This gives you a little breakdown. Our general purpose school fund, $85 million. These are our biggest ones that we have come out. The Sheriff's Department, $13 million. Jail operations is $12 million. Highway Department, $13 million. And then our debt service. This is the one that really gets your attention when you look at it. We've had to do some big projects. And we're up $14 million in debt service a year. That's our next goal. We need to be able to reduce that debt service down and get that off the books as quickly as we possibly can. The other thing with the debt service is COVID allowed us to go do a lot of things that we didn't have the money for. And those things are going to come back to haunt us in the near future, and at least in the 15 to 20 year mark. And then 5-year mark, we added to our ambulance service, bought new ambulances. They last about 5 years. So we're going to have to replace those. Guess what? We're not going to have American Rescue Plan money to replace those. So we've got to start a capital outlay plan now to be able to cover those additions we had. We replaced chilling units in the health department, jail, all these other facilities. They last anywhere from 15 to 20 years. Ours were at the 25-year mark, and we'd had 4 or 5 of them go down at $4 million a pop. We would have had a bond issue just to fix the air conditioning in our buildings. So we have to think ahead of the game now and do a capital outlay and start setting money back for these big projects that are going to come back, or whoever is still around 15 years from now, the 20 years, when all this breaks at the same time, they're going to have to deal with it. So we need to have a plan in place and already have money set aside to take care of those things now. County budget is roughly $217 million a year. That is a lot of money to account for. This does include our American Rescue Plan money for this. We are a big county. We spend a lot of money. It takes a lot to run this county. Our neighboring counties, some of these smaller counties, and I was talking about the population, how it was broke down, they don't have cities to help generate it. The Hancock counties, Scott counties, even Carter County, when you talk to Mayor Whitby, this is a huge number that they don't have to deal with, but we do here in Sullivan County. This is a breakdown. Hopefully you can see this. There are some good things, and there are some alarming things on here. If you look at this, 1 penny of collection on our property tax is worth $419,000. That's great. When I came into office, it was $376. Now, the difference is when you're looking at that part of it, that has allowed us to be able to build a lot and do a lot because our penny has went up in value. If you look at it, we got $4 billion in county assets when we start doing our property accessions at the top. And then you have the breakdown of where that funding is. If you look at the total, our tax rate is 2.40. So basically $2.40 is what is generated. That's what you pay for $100 of your value of your home on that. That's where your tax is figured. And then the projections for your school tax, this portion, these numbers you see for Sullivan County, we give them $21 million out of property tax. City of Kingsport gets $17 million out of property tax for the schools. And then the sales tax, we use the same percentages that we have on the ADA. The schools get 50% of it, and it's broke down by their portion from there. So you're looking at school allocations along off of property taxes, $49 million. We do believe in taking care of our schools in Sullivan County. Your homework, $255. That $255 was the tax rate when I came in the office in 2018. And now our current tax rate is $240. So we actually been able to drop our tax rate 15 cents. So you're getting taxed less. I mean, here's the best part about this is your properties are worth a lot more money now than they were in 2018. That's what's allowed us to be able to do it. So when we say your taxes are down, what we tax you is down, but your property values have went up so much that it's still costing you more in your taxes, but your tax rate is actually lower now than it was then. All right, that question, I told you there's questions that get asked. The question I get asked the most as a county commissioner. Can anybody guess what that question is? Oh, wait, you know what it is. Admiral?
I guess taxes.
What? That's portion of
Oh, okay, I accept
You-
it.
you-
It's wrong.
Bing, 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 we got a winner back there. We get that question, and I tell you, this is the answer. I look at him and I said, because Mayor Venable and Mayor Schultz says you have to pay those. And I wish I could get by with that easy of an explanation. And I do have something for you here. That is not the easiest explanation. We have to, the county provides the court systems, all the school system money comes through us. Your court, county clerks, all that comes through us, and that's why you end up paying city tax and county tax. So that is the number one question. And the first time you get asked, nobody ever asks that question smiling. They usually looking at you like this right here going, why do I have to pay both? And so I do want to tell them because Richard Venable and Mayor Schultz says you have to, but that's it. And I do have you one of my challenge coins. Now, my challenge coin is not as worth as much as the mayor's. He's got one. If he gets one of his, you can get out of jail free. Mine, you just get a free box of donuts at Krispy Kreme in Rogersville, if they ever build one in Rogersville. So, and that is the question. That is the big question we get on that one. And anybody got any questions for me?